The sun of Kithara IV fell across the crystal spires of the royal palace, scattering light like fragments of jewels across the marble floors. Princess Lysera adjusted the folds of her ceremonial gown, her hands shaking just slightly, though no one could see it. She prided herself on her composure, on the perfection of her public image, but today felt different. Today she would meet a human, a species she had only seen from the observation decks of her father's council chambers and in the holographic reports brought by ambassadors. She had read about humans, fragile in form yet audacious in spirit. She knew their history of survival, their ingenuity in the face of adversity, yet part of her doubted whether one could measure up to the elegance and refinement expected in a royal audience. Her stomach twisted with anticipation. "Princess Lysera, are you ready?" asked her aide, a young courtier named Celian whose nervous energy mirrored her own. Lysera took a deep breath, exhaling slowly. "I am," she replied, though her voice held a trace of unease she could not mask. "Let us see if humans are as capable as the reports suggest." The palace garden was alive with colors alien to Earth, massive flowers that glowed softly under the twin suns, and trees that twisted skyward in spirals, their leaves shimmering like silver. It was in this serene, controlled environment that she was to meet him. A soft hum of hovering vehicles announced the arrival of the human delegation. Lysera watched from behind a carved marble arch, observing the newcomers as they disembarked. Most moved awkwardly, careful of the delicate garden paths. But one of them caught her attention immediately. A man of average height, strong but unassuming in posture, with eyes that scanned everything carefully. Captain Alex Hayes approached, his movements confident, measured, yet devoid of arrogance. Even from a distance, Lysera felt her composure challenged. She straightened her back, smoothing her gown, determined to appear unfazed. He bowed slightly, a gesture of respect, though unfamiliar to her court. Lysera responded with a curt nod, her lips pressed into a thin line. "You must be Princess Lysera," Alex said, his voice calm and steady, carrying a tone of ease that belied the tension of the situation. "It's an honor to meet you." Lysera blinked, momentarily surprised at his straightforwardness. "Captain Hayes," she replied carefully, her voice clipped and precise. "I hope your journey was comfortable." Alex tilted his head slightly, a hint of a smile playing at the corner of his mouth. "It was manageable." "Your planet is beautiful." Lysera fought a tiny frown. She was not used to humans noticing such details without exaggeration. Most species she met either marveled dramatically or sneered at what they deemed inferior. This human, however, seemed genuinely appreciative, which made her uneasy in a curious way. As they walked through the garden, Lysera led the conversation, asking questions about Earth and human culture. Alex answered patiently, revealing insights into human resilience, strategy, and ingenuity. She listened intently, fascinated despite herself, while simultaneously reminding herself to remain the composed royal figure. "Humans are not as strong physically as some of your species," Lysera said, testing him gently. "Yet I have heard tales of remarkable human achievements." Alex's gaze met hers, unwavering. "Strength isn't always in muscles," he said. "Sometimes it's in your mind, your choices, and the way you respond when things fall apart." Lysera felt a flutter of something unfamiliar, a mix of intrigue and unease. His words were simple, yet they carried a weight she could not dismiss. She straightened her posture, reminding herself that she was the princess. Their conversation was interrupted by a distant alarm from the palace perimeter. Security drones hovered toward the source, their sensors scanning the area. Lysera's eyes narrowed. "It appears the palace has an unexpected visitor," she said, her voice steady but her mind racing. "Captain Hayes, would you accompany me?" Alex nodded without hesitation. "Of course." They moved swiftly to the palace's observation deck where the glass walls provided a full view of the surrounding grounds. There she saw shadows moving among the spires, fast, deliberate, and menacing. "Saboteurs," she murmured. Her hands clenched at her sides, but her face remained calm. "It seems our meeting is untimely." Alex's eyes scanned the scene quickly, analyzing movement, calculating distance, and potential threats. Lysera could not help but notice the ease with which he assessed the situation, his mind working like a well-oiled machine. "Do you need me to act?" she asked, curiosity threading her question with an unspoken challenge. Alex shook his head. "Not yet. We observe first, gather information, Then we act decisively. Lysera was impressed, though she did not show it. Most beings in her court would have panicked, but this human remained composed. His calm presence made her own training feel inadequate, even though she was among the most disciplined in her kingdom. The saboteurs, upon realizing they had been spotted, scattered toward the palace entrance. Security forces moved to intercept them, but the humans' unfamiliar tactics seemed unpredictable to the aliens. Alex directed a small human contingent to block the most likely paths. Coordinating with alien security with precise efficiency, Lysera watched from the deck, a mixture of fascination and tension twisting inside her. She had expected humans to be clever, yes, but not this resourceful under pressure. Her mind raced with possibilities, wondering how a species she had barely encountered could possess such adaptability. Once the immediate threat was neutralized, Lysera and Alex returned to the garden. She forced herself to smile politely, masking the storm of thoughts swirling within her. "You handled that very well," she said, her voice calm but layered with a hint of surprise. "I underestimated your species," Alex shrugged modestly. "I only did what I had to do. Adaptability is what keeps humans alive. Sometimes it's simple observation, sometimes it's action. Mostly it's knowing when to act." Lysera nodded slowly, the corners of her mouth lifting in a trace of genuine amusement. "You are unlike anyone I have met in my court," the human smiled briefly. "I could say the same about you, Princess. Grace under pressure isn't easy, and yet you manage it effortlessly." For a moment silence settled between them, not uncomfortable but charged. Lysera's mind wrestled with her training, which demanded she maintain distance, and the undeniable pull of curiosity about this human, who had not only survived her scrutiny but intrigued her. "Perhaps," she said finally, her voice measured, "we will see if humans can prove themselves in diplomacy as well as in combat." Alex inclined his head. "I look forward to the opportunity." The rest of the day passed with careful observation, as Lysera escorted the human delegation through the palace. She watched them adapt to alien customs, noting which behavior showed courage, intelligence, and subtle cleverness. Alex, unlike many of the others, seemed to anticipate the challenges of alien etiquette, often preventing minor misunderstandings before they could escalate. As the twin suns dipped toward the horizon, painting the crystalline palace in hues of amber and violet, Lysera found herself walking beside Alex in a quiet corridor. She forced herself to speak formally, but her curiosity was plain. "Captain Hayes, tell me, what do you truly think of our court?" He considered the question carefully. "It is impressive, complex, precise, and disciplined. But I sense tension beneath the surface, rivalries that can erupt at any moment." Lysera's heart skipped slightly. No human had ever spoken so frankly about the subtle currents of her world. "You speak wisely for someone who has been here only a day." Alex's expression was steady, yet his eyes carried a hint of warmth. "Observation and listening tell more than rank or title ever could." Lysera fought to maintain her composure, feeling a rare mix of admiration and caution. She realized with some surprise that this human might be unlike any creature she had ever encountered, calm, clever, observant, yet also unafraid to speak the truth. And for the first time in her life, she wondered if she might have underestimated humans entirely. The palace of Kithra IV was alive with tension at dawn. Princess Lysera stood at the balcony of her chambers, gazing at the crystalline towers that gleamed under the rising suns. The previous day's events lingered in her mind. The sudden attacks, the precision of the saboteurs, and most of all, the human soldier who had both surprised and unsettled her. Captain Alex Hayes had proven himself capable beyond her expectations, and now she had to face a new day that promised even greater challenges. A soft knock on her chamber door pulled her from her thoughts. "Princess, Captain Hayes requests an audience before the council convenes," Celian said, stepping inside. Lysera straightened, smoothing the folds of her gown. "Very well," she replied, her voice steady. She had to maintain composure, even when her mind was curious and unsettled by the human's calm presence. The garden below was quiet compared to the chaos of the day before. Alex stood at attention, his uniform immaculate despite the previous day's engagements. Lysera descended gracefully to meet him, careful to retain the dignity demanded of her station. "Princess Lysera," he said with a slight bow, "I hope you slept well." She tilted her head, masking her surprise. Humans often disregarded formalities, yet his respect for hers was evident. "I rested sufficiently," she replied. "And you, Captain Hayes?" "I rested well enough," he said simply, though his eyes were already scanning the palace perimeter, noting potential vulnerabilities. Lysera followed his gaze. "The attacks were precise. Do you expect more?" Alex considered the question carefully. "It's difficult to predict. The saboteurs' strategy suggests coordination, intelligence, and patience. They may strike again when least expected." Her brow furrowed slightly. "Then we must be ready. Will you assist me?" He nodded without hesitation. "Of course. We work together, Princess." The council chamber was filled with alien nobles, their expressions a mixture of suspicion, awe, and restrained curiosity. Lysera entered first, her posture flawless, followed closely by Alex. Whispers circulated through the room, noting the unusual presence of a human soldier at such a critical audience. Lysera cleared her throat, commanding attention. "Yesterday's attacks have tested our defenses and our resolve," she began. "I will not deny the effectiveness of the human contingent. Captain Hayes has demonstrated abilities that merit recognition." A murmur ran through the council. Some noble eyes widened in surprise, others narrowed in doubt. Lysera met each gaze evenly, refusing to waver. Alex stepped forward, his voice calm and precise. "The threats we faced yesterday were targeted and intelligent. By observing carefully, coordinating quickly, and acting decisively, we neutralized the danger before it escalated. The success of our defense relied on cooperation between human and alien forces." Lysera nodded, impressed by his diplomacy. "You see, my counsel," she said, gesturing toward him. "Humans are capable of courage, intelligence, and decisive action. We would do well to consider their strengths in our future planning." The council deliberated, some openly skeptical. Lysera knew tradition often clashed with practicality, yet she stood firm. "We cannot allow pride to blind us. Our survival depends on adaptability and the willingness to learn from others, even from species once underestimated." After the council meeting, Lysera and Alex walked together through the palace gardens, a rare moment of privacy. The twin suns reflected off crystalline leaves, casting patterns of light and shadow that seemed to dance around them. "You handled the council well," Alex said quietly. "Your words carried authority and insight. Most leaders would have faltered under their scrutiny." Lysera allowed herself a small smile. "It is my duty, and yet I have learned much from you. Your composure under pressure." "It is remarkable." Alex's expression remained modest. "I simply do what is necessary. Humans have survived by adapting. Observation, planning, and action when required, these are our strengths." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden alarm. Smoke rose from the eastern gates of the palace. Lysera's heart tightened, but she forced her face to remain calm. "Another attack?" she asked. Alex's eyes narrowed. "Yes. They have coordinated a second strike targeting the eastern flank. We must move quickly." Together they ran through the palace corridors, issuing commands and coordinating defenses. Lysera found herself instinctively trusting Alex's judgment, allowing him to guide strategy in ways she had never imagined. His calm decisiveness inspired confidence, not just in her but in the soldiers under their command. In the gardens, the saboteurs emerged from the shadows, wielding alien disruptor weapons. Lysera raised her hand, signaling the palace guards to hold their position while she observed the attackers. Alex moved forward, assessing the situation. "The disruptors are ineffective against human physiology," he noted. "But they may incapacitate alien troops if used cleverly. We must neutralize the leaders first." Lysera nodded. Together they devised a plan. Alex would lead a small team to intercept the saboteurs' command unit, while Lysera coordinated the palace defenses. The plan required precise timing, coordination, and trust, a test of both human and alien skill. The assault began. Lysera watched from the balcony as Alex and his team moved with silent efficiency, neutralizing the saboteurs' leadership with careful precision. Alien guards followed, inspired by his courage and ingenuity. A saboteur broke through a defensive line, rushing toward Lysera. She remained calm, drawing on her training and instincts. At the last moment, Alex intercepted, tackling the attacker with swift precision. Lysera's heart raced, but she did not falter. Together they defended the palace, their movements almost synchronized despite their differences. Once the attackers were defeated, Lysera approached Alex, her expression a mix of relief and admiration. You have proven humans can be exceptional, she said softly. Alex shook his head. We are not exceptional alone. We succeed because we cooperate, because we adapt. Your leadership made the difference. Lysera considered his words carefully. Perhaps we have underestimated each other. Your species, your methods. There is much we can learn from humans. Alex inclined his head. And there is much humans can learn from your people as well. Discipline, tradition, and strategy. Your world has much to offer. For the first time, Lysera allowed herself to relax. She had faced danger, observed courage, and witnessed intelligence that transcended species. And through it all, a bond of respect and trust had formed, subtle but undeniable. As night fell over Kitharathur, the palace quieted. Lysera walked alone in the gardens, reflecting on the day's events. She thought of Alex, of the calm strength he displayed, and of the ways humans could surprise even the most disciplined alien minds. A soft voice broke her contemplation. Princess Lysera. She turned to find Alex approaching, his gaze steady and calm. I wanted to ensure you were unharmed, he said simply. Lysera smiled faintly. I am safe thanks to you, and thanks to the cooperation we achieved together. He nodded. It was our combined effort. I acted when necessary, but it was your guidance that made it possible. For a moment, they stood in silence, the night wind rustling through the crystalline leaves. Lysera realized that trust had been established, not through words alone, but through shared experience, courage, and understanding. You are unlike anyone I have encountered in my court, she said finally. Your presence has changed my perspective on humans. Perhaps we are not so different in our desire to protect and survive. Alex's faint smile reflected both warmth and humility. Perhaps not, Princess. Perhaps not at all. Lysera watched him depart back to the human delegation, feeling a sense of anticipation she had not experienced before. The day's trials had revealed a truth she could not ignore. Humans, though different, were capable of extraordinary courage, intelligence, and resilience. And in that realization, she understood that the future of her court, and perhaps even her planet, might depend on embracing these strengths, forging alliances that transcended old prejudices and assumptions. For the first time, Lysera allowed herself to hope. She had faced danger, observed bravery, and found trust in an unexpected place. Captain Alex Hayes had shown her that humans were not merely survivors. They were innovators, strategists, and partners who could stand shoulder to shoulder with the mightiest of her people. As the stars of Kithara IV shone above the palace, Lysera felt a quiet determination settle in her heart. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but she no longer faced them alone. She had seen what humans could offer, and she knew that together, they could achieve something far greater than either species could alone. The night was calm, but the bond formed through courage, respect, and shared purpose promised a future where humans and aliens might not just coexist, but thrive together. And deep within her, Lysera acknowledged a truth she could no longer deny. Captain Alex Hayes had changed the course of her world, and perhaps the course of her heart as well.